things than what we've done.
There will be another high-profile hearing on Capitol Hill.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions preparing to testify.
If he had asked my advice, I would say it is not wise for you to do this.
Why are we going through this charade of an investigation when there's no evidence that Donald Trump had anything to do with the Russians? What the hell are we investigating?
The real collusion going on appears to be between the Clinton campaign, the Obama administration, Loretta Lynch, and James Comey.
Lawmakers were briefed on a meeting that former Director Comey had with Loretta Lynch that alluded to the fact that Loretta Lynch was going to put the kibosh on any type of investigation against Hillary Clinton.
This video just in overnight showing the former NBA star Dennis Rodman arriving in Pyongyang to meet with Kim Jong-un. His purpose there still unclear.
There it is, redemption for Golden State. One of the great playoff runs of all time is complete. The Warriors are NBA champions again.
Put your phones on silent. We're about to start the show. And everybody on that zipper, same thing. Judge Napolitano all the way down.
Scott Walker.
So if you're at home, put your phone on silent.
Pay attention to us.
I think you're talking to Ainsley and me.
Yeah, that's right.
You can go ahead and use your smartphone throughout the day. You can text us, you can email us, you could tweet us, you could
I love this
Facebook
new
us.
shot.
I know.
Ted getting up close and personal with the system.
Right, yeah. Ted had no permission to do that. He just missed us.
It looked good. We like it.
That's right.
Give Ted a raise.
Right.
Take it out of
He's
Brian's
already making
paycheck.
too much money.
Speaking of up close and personal, Jeff Sessions going to get up front and personal today with a committee hearing. And that is our lead story. Also today, our commander-in-chief and his special advisor, Ivanka Trump, are heading to Wisconsin today, focusing on the administration's job program. She told us about that exclusively here on the couch yesterday.
This is Attorney General Jeff Sessions prepares to take the hot seat, as Steve mentioned, on Capitol Hill about 2:30 today, unless Griff has something different.
Well, we're going to find out. Griff is live down in D.C. He's covering it all for us. Good morning, Griff.
Good morning, Ainsley, Brian, and Steve. And you know I've always got something. Now, despite the frenzy of today's hearing, the president and his daughter, Ivanka, are focusing on job creation. They're headed to Wisconsin today to tour a technical college with Governor Scott Walker, who will be on this program later, promoting technical skills and training in apprenticeships as part of what they're calling Workforce Development Week. Here's what the first daughter and special advisor to the president, Ivanka, had to say on this program yesterday.
We're visiting one of the great examples of skill-based learning and skills-based education, a technical school in Wisconsin, which we're very excited about, to talk about the skills gap and to really highlight the fact that there is a viable path other than a four-year college experience.
But much of the focus here in Washington will be on the testimony of Attorney General Jeff Sessions under oath and in full view of everybody. Sessions is going to get grilled over questions regarding his contacts with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak and accusations coming from James Comey last week. But the White House welcomes this testimony, saying the sooner we can move on, the better.
I think the president's been clear last week in the Rose Garden that he believes that the sooner we can get this addressed and dealt with, that there's been no collusion. He wants this to get investigated as soon as possible and be done with it so he can continue with the business of the American people.
So the grilling begins at 2:30. Get your popcorn and milk duds ready. No word on whether or not there will be a closed-door classified session to follow like they did in Comey's testimony last week, guys.
All right, milk duds, very good. They taste great, but they're not good for your skin, especially if you're a teen.
Milk duds.
Yes,
Okay.
That's what Griff recommended.
Entertainment snacks. Gotcha.
Right.
All right, Griff, thank you very much. The big question is, will Jeff Sessions today answer questions about his involvement in the canning of Mr. Comey, or will he invoke executive privilege? You know, if he does, it looks like he's got something to hide, then there might be a good reason not to reveal it. Stay tuned. It's coming up this afternoon.
That's right. So if you have to work, we have all the details right after that hearing right here on the Fox News channel. Also, we are going down to Washington. We're going to be sitting down with Ivanka for a one-on-one interview to find out what happened today in Wisconsin. So we'll have that.
Tomorrow. Right. And by the way,
with
what Jeff Sessions said about 2:30, I sense that he just cannot wait to knock out of the park or address in full detail what's going to be happening with the Russians. I sense that he's going to balance it out. Go, yeah, did I meet with the Russian ambassador? Yes. the Hungarian ambassador also, the Polish ambassador as well. I was this thing called a U.S. senator, and I think I'll be able to put it in perspective today because, I mean, not only is he the Attorney General with answers, he actually knows how to answer questions as a legal expert.
Well, we saw
a lot of those were just a handshake. It was like, that was it.
We shook hands yesterday, too. You know,
that qualifies as a meeting.
Right. I mean,
they do get along.
They're looking at this Mayflower Hotel meeting, and he's claiming it didn't even happen, let alone does he have to explain what happened.
All right, yesterday we talked about how things are getting pretty bad for the Democrats. Even Dianne Feinstein, who is a big liberal Democrat representing the state of California, she wants to know more about that Loretta Lynch meeting when Loretta Lynch asked James Comey allegedly to downplay the investigation, said, don't call this Hillary Clinton email thing an investigation, let's call it a matter. Well, now we're finding out more information, and it gets worse. There are reports that James Comey has more information on Loretta Lynch than the 45-minute tarmac meeting with President Clinton.
That's right. And in fact, he went to have a meeting with her to talk about how that tarmac meeting created a conflict of interest. And that was really bad for the department. And then he revealed that he had in his possession a sensitive document that she did not know the FBI had. And what it said is between political figures, and it said essentially that Loretta Lynch was going to put the kibosh, I think that's how Sarah Carter of Circa News puts it, put the kibosh on any further investigation of Hillary Clinton. Listen to this. Here's Sarah Carter, who's got the story on Circa along with John Solomon.
We know that lawmakers were briefed on a meeting that Director Comey, former Director Comey, had with Loretta Lynch, where he confronted her, not just about the tarmac, but about a sensitive piece of communication. It was a piece of communication between two political figures that basically alluded to the fact that Loretta Lynch was going to put the kibosh on any type of investigation against Hillary Clinton. And when he confronted her with that piece of evidence, she basically stared at him, and there was a long period, as he described it to lawmakers, a long period of steely silence. I thought that was really telling. Steely silence. And then she looked up at him, and she asked him if there was nothing more he needed to say, then he should turn around and leave the office.
When people talk about Russia, collusion, and what was going on, well, you know, we have to get to the bottom of this. Well, do people have to get to the bottom of the fact that a Democratic administration was possibly suppressing information that would have benefited the Democratic nominee? That is why this is worth looking at. And for those of you who say, well, if she lost, what's the big deal? Well, that is a big deal because we're looking at what was behind the scenes leading to our election on November 8th. The other thing that I cannot wait to talk to Judge Napolitano. Steve, I'm going to write this down. You're going to talk to him one-on-one. Okay. I just want to know, why would James Comey feel compelled to talk about private information and conversation with the President of the United States and say, give that to the New York Times? But he can't tell us about a communication that existed between the former Attorney General and himself as former FBI director?
Well, we're leaving one important part of the story out. After James Comey had that exchange, that steely exchange, he took that as the reason why he would go ahead and go public with the story. He said, essentially, I can't trust her to do this story, so I'm going to take the story public, and eventually, of course, it led to him announcing that he didn't think any charges would be filed. So he's trying to tell behind the scenes to the lawmakers what went on with Loretta Lynch, just as he did with...
well, he might have said behind the scenes to lawmakers. They might all know this already. When they go behind closed doors, they're not supposed to say what happened. But those lawmakers have to sit there and grill Senator Sessions today, Attorney General Sessions today, know that Loretta Lynch possibly, if this circuit report is true, has done far worse.
Well, we're going to ask the judge what happens next because it seems that James Comey has a lot of information, and it's just now coming out. We don't know everything.
Are we done with James Comey?
No. He's going to write a book.
We're done talking about it for right now because we're going to hand it over to Jillian, who has some headlines.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, guys. We do start with breaking news right now. Good morning to you at home as well. A Fox News alert, a massive manhunt is intensifying this morning after a police officer is shot and killed in the line of duty. Police say Lieutenant Patrick Weatherford was responding to a call near Little Rock, Arkansas last night when he was ambushed. Lieutenant Weatherford was a 15-year department veteran. He was 41 years old. Dennis Rodman touching down in North Korea overnight. New video shows the former NBA star, you can see it right here, arriving in Pyongyang to meet with Kim Jong-un. The purpose of his latest visit still unclear. Rodman only telling reporters he's just trying to open a door. This is as a erratic North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un responds to President Trump's Twitter taunts by threatening to take out New York. The president warning North Korea after several missile launches this year. President Trump's border order battle now gearing up for a Supreme Court showdown after another legal setback. A federal appeals court ruling it violates the Constitution by targeting Muslims. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer optimistic the Supreme Court will reinstate it. The nation's top court could overturn the ruling as early as this week. And the Golden State Warriors refusing to repeat history. Kevin Durant helping the team avenge last year's loss with a victory in the NBA Finals. Take a look.
There it is, redemption for Golden State. One of the great playoff runs of all time.
.com.
Democratic Party needs fundamental change. Fundamental change. What it needs is to open up its doors to working people and young people and all people who are prepared to fight for social and economic justice.
So Bernie Sanders is onto something, perhaps. According to a recent poll, white working-class men are bolting to the Republican Party, and they're not alone. He put up a flare for that in the last election. The rising American electorate, minorities, unmarried women, and millennials are also moving to the right, slowly. So why the apparent shift? The man behind the polls, former pollster for President Bill Clinton, Stanley Greenberg, joins us right now. Stan, when did you begin to see this?
Well, you know, we began to see this. To be honest, if you go back to Bill Clinton, you know, he's the one who saw that research, and he said, I'm gonna run for the forgotten middle class. And you began to see it since the financial crisis. You began to see losing working people and kind of a disengagement of many base voters during the off-year elections. This isn't necessarily a shift to the right. It's to believe who's going to take on the powerful on behalf of the middle class, and that produced a disengagement that was very, very harmful for Democrats in those elections.
So right now we know that George Bush 41 said go for NAFTA, but it was Clinton that passed NAFTA, and for the longest time Republicans were for NAFTA, but things began to shift at the end. Also, rightly or wrongly, President Obama's getting blamed for bailing out Wall Street and the elites, and the working class didn't like that. And the most astounding part of it is that this whole allowing illegal immigrants to come here and work for below the wire wages is really ticking off the white working class.
Well, what you saw in the study that we did, after the election, was that a pullback, from Democrats that was rooted in the sense that the elites control, government, that it's captured, government is captured and not working for the middle class. Now, they were not looking to Republicans because they think they're for trickle down and for austerity and small government. But what they saw with Trump is he was someone who began to stand up, oppose trade agreements, say he was going to fight companies to try to create American jobs. And that created an opening for some of those voters to shift to Trump in the last election. But it's not a shift to the right. It's a shift on who's going to take on the powerful on behalf of the middle class, who's going to make government work for people. That's given some opening to Trump because of what he was supposedly going to run on. We don't know whether that's real and whether that's sustainable, but it was a break from what they saw from Republicans in the past.
Well, we know this. He's about America first. He's talking about jobs. He's talking about coal. He's talking about getting these companies to stay here, penalizing them for leaving, which is very similar to what Bernie Sanders was saying, making it a very exciting time for politics. Not just talking, but doing. Stanley Greenberg, fascinating. We've got to have you in studio to talk more about it. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, straight ahead, advertiser fleeing the New York production of Julius Caesar after it depicts the killing and assassination of President Trump, but CNN's parent company sticking to its sponsorship. And I'm not kidding. Defense Secretary James Mattis just took a major swing at the swamp. we'll talk about it.
This program is brought to you by Progressive, comparing rates to help you save. Now that's Progressive.
Where are we? About to see Progressive's new Home Quote Explorer, where you can compare multiple...
Because connecting you to what matters to us. That's who we are. Spectrum, redefining what a cable company can be.
Here on June 13th, 6:24 here in New York City, and we start right now with a Fox News alert. And a desperate hunt intensifying at this hour for 4 inmates who escaped, including an accused killer. The men speaking out through the ventilation system, that's how they snuck out inside a jail in Oklahoma. It's deja vu for authorities. 2 of those prisoners broke out the same way earlier this year. And the bodies of 3 fallen Army Rangers are back on American soil. Vice President Mike Pence on hand for the dignified transfer at Dover in Delaware. Corporal Dylan Baldridge, Sergeant Eric Hauk, and Sergeant William Hayes were killed in an insider attack by an Afghan soldier. They were all there to support. The Taliban has claimed responsibility. And that is some of the news. Now on to Ainsley.
All right. Thanks, Steve. A play appearing to depict the murder of the president has made its official debut. The New York Public Theater has lost some of its sponsors over Julius Caesar, but others, like the New York Times and CNN's parent company, Time Warner, have refused to back out. Here to react is editor-in-chief of the Daily Caller News Foundation, Mr. Christopher Bedford. Hey, Christopher, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, some are saying it's free speech. You know, this is public theater in New York City. What do you expect? Others are saying the assassination of the president, that crosses the line. What do you think?
Well, it is free speech, but it's ghastly speech. It's in terrible taste. Not only that, but if you look at this, it's cheap art. Plays like Shakespeare's have been around for centuries because they tell timeless stories. And the director, who's now publicly defending this play, is saying, hey, we're just trying to start a dialogue by showing a really gruesome murder of somebody clearly depicted as the president. He's really taken a shortcut by just dressing his Julius Caesar up as President Trump. It's cheap art, and it shows you that they live in such a bubble in New York City that no one was willing to say. None of his friends said, you know what, maybe the graphic assassination of the president of the U.S. is not a good idea. Maybe this would cause people really discomfort, and maybe it's in terrible taste.
Yeah, maybe some of these companies are saying, you know, we don't live in the bubble. Most of our customers don't live in the bubble, and they're pulling out. You have Delta that says it's graphic, it doesn't reflect our values. You have BOA, Bank of America, intended to provoke and offend. You have American Express, says our funding of public theater doesn't actually go to Shakespeare in the Park. We don't condone this interpretation of Julius Caesar. But then you have New York Magazine, you have New York Times, and even Time Warner saying we're going to stay in it. We're going to continue to support.
You know, the last time we saw terrible violence in American politics with the attempted assassination of Gabby Giffords, people looked far and wide to see what could have caused this. And they even focused on things like a target on a campaign ad. If there's actual violence in this political system, hopefully not, people are going to look at, well, who was showing pictures of decapitating the president, who, like the CNN, and who was killing him on stage in New York City. These corporate sponsors are publicly traded companies, and they have to do business all across America, not just on that little island. So they're right to pull out, and I think they're going to get a lot of backlash. Corporations are risk averse. Why would they ever support this?
What does it say about the hearts of some people? Because we had a young lady go on yesterday who said she was in the audience, and people were cheering and clapping at the assassination of the president, and then you saw what Kathy Griffin did. What does that say about the American people who are so angry and so they want him dead? They're clapping at that?
I've been amazed at this reverse rhetoric they've been doing. A lot of the people protesting on the left have said that words are literal violence, but when they're violent and they attack people for having a Trump hat, that's just a form of protest. This is just a form of protest. They're saying that Donald Trump's dividing the country with this hateful rhetoric. I haven't heard really hateful rhetoric from Donald Trump. Where I've heard it from is people who have ISIS pictures of him, people who are cheering for him being stabbed on the stage. It's that kind of stuff, and it really turns off a lot of people to see that. I don't ever recall this. I mean, there was a little bit of that with George W. Bush in a show that was advertised in London, but they wouldn't even show that in the United States. I think we've reached a new level of vitriol, and I don't think it's going to be sustainable for the next few years that Americans really being turned off.
All right, Christopher Bedford, thanks for being with us. Good to see you this morning. Sure. All right, the video is insane. A firefighter gets caught in the middle of a massive explosion. Watch this.
God! Get him, get him, get him!
Get him out. And that firefighter actually walks away. The incredible story just ahead. And President Trump's heading to Wisconsin today to tell Americans college isn't your only option. Stu Varney says that is great for our economy. He is walking into the studio. But first we want to wish a happy birthday to Tim Allen. He turns 64 years old today.
By Home Instead Senior Care. To us, it's personal.
We're visiting one of the great examples of skill-based learning and skills-based education, a technical school in Wisconsin, which we're very excited about, to talk about the skills gap and to really highlight the fact that there is a viable path other than a four-year college experience. So really investing in vocational education, skill-based training. There are 6 million available American jobs. So we're constantly hearing from CEOs that they have job openings, but they don't have workers with the skill set they need to fill those jobs.
Right.
So really bridging that gap and bringing experience-based education to the forefront. So apprenticeship, actually, that's the model.
And that is something we've been talking about over the last few years. Amazing. Everyone thinks you got to go to college right out of school or else you're a failure. And it turns out America needs people with skills, vocational skills. And that was the message yesterday. Stuart Varney, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Now, the president, I think, is making 2 points. He's making a trip to Wisconsin today. 2 points going on here. Number one, college is not for everyone. He's going to say that directly. College is not for everyone. Some people do things. Not everybody is academic. Point number two, there is a whopping great big skills gap in America today. And Wisconsin's a pretty good example of that. You've got a very low unemployment rate of 3.2%, 17-year low in Wisconsin. It's a manufacturing kind of state, and they've got jobs available, but they don't have skilled people to match.
What are some of the salaries of these jobs?
Oh, well, on my show yesterday, we had the CEO of a steel maker, big steel maker. He said the average worker in his factories makes $83,000 a year, including benefits, and after a couple of years it goes to about $95,000 per year. You do not need a college degree for those jobs. What you need is a skill. Enter President Trump, who is pushing apprenticeships and the skill-based learning, vocational education. There's a vital need for that at this point in this country.
But there's a stigma somewhat with that, which is so wrong.
Yeah, you know what it's called? It's called snobbery. That's what it's called. Absolutely. The elites want all their sons and daughters, oh, you've got to go to college, you've got to have a white-collar job. But look down on those blue-collar people, for heaven's sake. That is outrageous.
Sure. You know, our friend Mike Rowe has been on this program many times talking about, you know, and I told him when I was in high school, I learned how to weld because I didn't know what I was going to do at that stage, and eventually I wound up in this business where essentially I just get paid to drink coffee on TV, which is fantastic. But here's the thing. If there are 6 million jobs out there, that's fantastic, but you've got to be able to do the job. So many people have said, you know, here in the United States, we don't build anything anymore. We would with people if they knew how to do it.
And academia is not for everyone. Art history, Etruscan literature is not for everyone. Welding is useful to a lot of people, and a lot of people could learn that skill and make some serious money. But you know, yet again, the president's vital message about what it means in people's lives, the important message of jobs, training, vocational skills, that's going to be overshadowed by the hearings this afternoon. Oh, it's all about Russia, Russia, Russia. And did the Attorney General have a meeting with the Russian ambassador before he was confirmed? That's what they're doing that in Washington.
But the president was brilliant yesterday. He did not touch this. He focused on his cabinet and focused on his mission of the week. And it's forcing half the media to come up with their own storyline. And I think that's how it dies on the vine, especially if Attorney General Sessions comes up with the answers today. You're beginning to see that there's no story there.
I hope so. I hope we're not distracted yet again by the hearings in Washington, because what the president is doing and what he is saying in Wisconsin today and tomorrow in wherever he is talking tomorrow and again on Thursday, that's more important than what they're talking about in D.C.
And also health care.
Yes.
They are talking about what the Republicans are going to merge with today. But, of course, Stuart Varney leads the show with Russia today, this morning.
No, he does not.
He does that? Okay, good.
No, he does not.
Yeah, we'll be talking about all of it. So if you want all the news, we'll watch your show and our show.
That's a good idea. You want to get jealous? we have somebody to toss to. You have nobody to toss to. We're going to Jilly right now, okay?
I'm jealous. I am jealous.
But he can't toss on his show. He's got no one to toss to. It'll be an empty toss.
Well, get it out of your system now.
No, wait a minute. You're on my show today.
Oh, that's right.
They're still going over there. We do begin with some serious news, though. A Fox News alert and a disturbing threat amid the recent wave of global terror. It's not over, and America is next. A new ISIS audio message spreading online telling supporters to carry out attacks during Ramadan, not just in Europe, but here at home as well. The group praising attacks in the first weeks of Ramadan, including in London, Manchester, and Iran that killed dozens and wounded hundreds of people. The holy month ends June 24th. Defense Secretary James Mattis is slamming the swamp, scolding lawmakers for failing to pass military budgets and imposing automatic spending cuts.
While nothing can compare to the heartache caused by the loss of our troops during these wars, no enemy in the field has done more to harm the combat readiness of our military than sequestration.
Mattis taking part in a hearing encouraging Congress to pass President Trump's budget on time. And how about this story? A firefighter is extremely lucky to be alive after being engulfed in flames. And after you see this, you'll understand why. Take a look.
Get him, get him, get him! Come on, Scott, go, 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 go! Get your jacket off.
Wow, that is a frightening scene. That Maine firefighter getting caught in a propane explosion while responding to a fire in the woods. The firefighter was treated for first and second degree burns to his face, but he will be okay. Fighting for faith. A federal appeals court now hearing the case for a high school football coach fired for praying with his team. For nearly a decade, Coach Joe Kennedy held a moment of silence after games right on the 50-yard line. The school in Washington state asked him to stop. He refused, so the school fired him. Now he's suing the school, claiming it violates his First Amendment rights.
No complaints. Nobody was ever forced or coerced to participate. And they even said that what Coach does is a good thing. They just don't want anybody to be able to see it.
Now here's the deal. The coach is not suing for money. He says he just wants his job back. And you can see the picture right there when he has the team gathered right at the 50-yard line. It's definitely quite a controversy out there.
Amen to that.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Jillian. 21 minutes before the top of the hour. Now over to extreme weather. Twisters touching down across the plains. This violent one caught on camera outside of Cheyenne, Wyoming.
It is just one of at least 23 reported tornadoes in that state, Colorado and Nebraska.
Janice Dean is live in the studio tracking the storm outside the studio tracking the storms. Good morning to you, Janice.
Good morning. Yeah, that's going to be the big story today is the threat of severe storms. We had dozens of reports of severe weather yesterday, including close to 36 reports of tornadoes. Let's take a look at the maps. You can see right there. Close to 36 reports of tornadoes, hundreds of reports of hail and damaging winds. You can see the severe threat continues today across the upper Midwest down through Texas with hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes. We've got this very cold pocket of air across the northern Rockies, and ahead of that, very warm, unstable air, and that's why we have the potential for severe storms. So it's going to be hot, hot, hot across the Northeast. How are you guys today, real quick? Where are you from?
Orlando.
What's your name?
Michael Warday.
And you guys don't mind the heat, right?
No.
Where are you from?
Colorado.
Yeah, you having fun here in New York City?
Love New York City.
All right, and where are you from, sir?
South Carolina.
And
Originally from Long Island, but now in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
so you brought the heat then. Okay, wave to everybody inside, guys, and at home. Thanks for watching Fox and Friends. Steve Ainsley Bryan, back to you.
All right, thank you very much, JD.
All right, Attorney General Jeff Sessions heading to Capitol Hill to defend the Trump administration. So what should he say? Judge Andrew Napolitano is on the case. We're going to talk to him next.
I like the way you come out from behind the door. That's very nice. Yeah, I didn't know where you were going.
We told you about the punishment for the yearbook that erased all the traces of President Trump. This morning, the internet is responding in a big way to the Photoshopper who perhaps has been unmasked.
Before the special election, he eventually won handily. Giuffre now sentenced to community service for 20 hours of anger management. And Tiger Woods is heading back to rehab as he faces the possibility of losing joint custody of his 2 kids. Woods reportedly reserving the entire male patient unit of the inpatient unit of the Jupiter Medical Center near his home in Florida for privacy reasons. The professional golfer busted last month with DUI after taking what he says was prescription drugs. More on that later. Now to Steve and the judge.
Thank you very much, Brian. We're down here. Meanwhile, all eyes on Capitol Hill, where just hours from now, Attorney General Jeff Sessions takes to the hot seat to tell his side of the story in the next round of the Russia probe. Here with more of what we can expect, Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, good morning to you.
Steve, good morning.
All right, I know it wasn't Jeff Sessions' idea to have this be in a public forum. I think he preferred to be in private, but it's going to be in public, and there's some peril.
There is some peril for Attorney General Sessions. He really has 3 interests to defend here. One is his own integrity, because the Democrats right out of the bat are going to accuse him of perjury, and there's enough there for them to stir the pot on it. I don't know if he lied. I don't know if he intentionally lied, but all the information about his contacts with the Russian ambassador, which I think were either routine or harmless, nevertheless were not articulated truthfully at the time they should have been. That's one problem for General Sessions. The other problem is he is essentially there to challenge some of the testimony of former FBI Director Jim Comey, who really went for the president's jugular. The third problem here, and this is perhaps the stickiest, is he's still the Attorney General of the United States, and he still is there to defend the integrity of investigations being conducted by the Justice Department, including Bob Mueller's, about which the Attorney General can have no involvement because he recused himself. Bottom line, this is a moment unique in history, because he is there not as the person monitoring these investigations, some intelligence, some law enforcement, but as a witness in 2 of them.
Crazy. All right. And, of course, the activities get started around 2:30 this afternoon. You'll see it right here.
We'll be all over it.
Meanwhile, there's a news story from Circa, the news outfit, that says essentially that we know that, according to his testimony last week, James Comey apparently was told by Loretta Lynch, hey, don't call the Hillary thing an investigation, call it a matter. Apparently there was another instance where he went in to talk about how when she talked to Bill Clinton on the tarmac, it created a conflict of interest. He was upset about that. And then apparently he had some secret document that suggested that Lynch agreed to put the kibosh on any prosecution of Hillary Clinton. And then she just kind of looked at him and said, if you don't have anything else, you can leave.
You know, the whole investigation of Hillary Clinton is such a head-scratcher and also territory unique in American history. Jim Comey, it now appears, sort of big-footed the Attorney General, just went right around her when he was convinced that she had a conflict.
I'm going to go public myself.
Correct. He was convinced that she, as the chief federal law enforcement officer of the land, was doing the bidding of the Democratic National Committee and Hillary and Bill Clinton. If Mrs. Lynch, Attorney General Lynch, made law enforcement decisions for political purposes, that's called misconduct in office, and Jeff Sessions, the present Justice Department, should investigate her for that. The complaints against Comey is that he didn't come public with this in a timely manner.
Until he got fired.
Right. It appears, you know, why do they testify in secret if somebody's going to leak what the testimony was? But it appears that after that testimony that we all watched last week, they had a secret session, and in that secret session he said, let me tell you what I know about Loretta Lynch, and that's when this stuff came out.
Well, given his history, maybe James Comey leaked this himself.
But I do believe that Loretta Lynch is in a lot of hot water.
Because she was trying to influence the American presidential election.
Correct, in ways far more profound than just terminology. The terminology thing is important, but it apparently goes far beyond that.
But if she had agreed to put the kibosh on any investigation of Hillary Clinton, don't worry, she'll be fine. Extraordinary.
Absolutely, and it may explain why when Jim Comey said we're not going to ask for her indictment, he laid out all the evidence against her. Was that evidence enough to get an indictment? Steve, that was enough evidence to get a conviction.
No kidding. All right, Judge, thank you very much.
All the best.
Meanwhile, straight ahead, President Trump just had his first cabinet meeting yesterday, so how'd it go? HUD Secretary Dr. Ben Carson takes us inside the next hour. And it turns out Baird Trump may be the best salesman in the family. Days after his move to the White House, something sold out. What? Carly Shimskis reveals that and all that's trending on this Tuesday morning.
The doctor is always on call.
Well, we've got an update to a story we've been following. A high school yearbook advisor in New Jersey now suspended indefinitely after all traces of President Trump's name on that, as you can see, that sweater vest were erased from a yearbook. Here with more now is Fox News Headlines 24/7 reporter Carly Shimkus. Carly, people are fired up about this.
Yeah, some major fallout from this story that's getting a lot of attention. So the Wall Township School District has confirmed that the yearbook advisor has been placed under paid suspension while they investigate this, incidents of alleged censorship after two students had the Trump slogans on their shirts removed from the yearbook. Another student's Trump quote didn't make it into the yearbook whatsoever.
What is the investigation needed? She did it. She gets paid to go to
Well, you got to investigate. You got to do a couple weeks worth of investigation, then come out with something.
Well, we don't know if she did it.
Yeah,
maybe
that's
one of
true.
the kids did it, and she should have supervised.
Brian, stop trying to jump to conclusions.
Right. So
you don't know what
go
happened.
To the beach, we'll pay you until we find out the answer.
So listen, the teacher told the New York Post, "We have never made any action against any political party." But social media has got a whole lot to say about that. Renee on Twitter says no one has the right to censor this young man's clothing, First Amendment violation. And Holly tweets, "Good. It will be expensive to fix. Should be fired." A lot of the students and parents are calling for them to reprint the yearbook, so that will come at quite the cost for the school.
Whoever did this had to have known, though, that they were going to get caught. Of course. People were going to complain.
Yeah.
Next topic. Normally, we see Melania Trump, and she's the fashion icon, but now it's Barron.
It looks like Barron is the fashion icon of the family. So Barron Trump wore a shirt with the words "The Expert" printed on them when he arrived at the White House on Sunday.
Oh, that's nice. Where do I get that shirt?
So the shirt sold out online. It was a J. Crew shirt, completely sold out. I just checked the website. You still can't buy it. So everybody saw this shirt on him. They liked how it looked. They wanted it for their sons. You can't buy it anymore.
Right. Now let's talk about the Boston Globe. They've come out with a nice feature.
Okay, well, it's going to be about 96 degrees in New York City today, really hot across the country. But the Boston Globe does not want you to use air conditioning this summer because of
climate change.
Very good, because of global warming. So they put out some tips on how to live without air conditioning. Now, some of those pointers include wearing formal shorts to work instead of slacks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, fantastic.
I can imagine it right now, right?
I'll keep the earth clean.
Also, you're just opening windows in your basement and your whatever. So a lot of people on social media, man, are making fun of this. They're saying, we're going to need some air conditioning when it's 100 degrees.
Yeah, how about the elderly? How about the dogs? How about the babies?
Is there air conditioning at Boston Globe? I'm pretty sure there is.
I bet you there is. So Sonny on Twitter says, "You guys go first, then we'll talk." And then Ronnie says, "Learn how to live without the Boston Globe." And then another point, "Use cooling and heating devices that's necessary for health and comfort, like a civilized human." And then Raquel says, "Come to my hometown in San Antonio. You'll suffocate in a day. Heat stroke is real. Down here, reality check." Now, I got to say, I'm always cold.
Sure.
So this sounds good to me, but not for any political reason.
Right.
It's just freezing in here right now.
The attack on Freon. It's got to stop.
Thank you very much.
Brian, turn off the air conditioning on your private plane.
You got it.
Yeah.
All right. I'll use full.
All right, we have a big hour straight ahead. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker.
And Ben Carson.
Yep.
Before fibromyalgia, I was on the go.